to get up this morning, but I did that.
Yep.
I think I fell back asleep though, so it's nice when it's raining out too. That makes a difference.
It does somehow. It keeps the sun from glaring in the window quite as bright, and you get that little bit of a pitter patter, and it just
Yeah.
kind of drown. I don't know.
The farmer
nice.
in me or something like that, because we never had to work when it was raining.
Oh yeah,
So it's like,
you're a little bit more relaxed when it's raining.
You don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can sleep because nothing needs done.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way. Like once I get done working, if it's raining, I'm like, well, at least I don't have to feel like I should be out there, mowing or something.
Yeah, that's why I like storms and rain. And multiple days, and you're like, oh, this shit sucks. I'm gonna go outside and do something.
Yeah.
So it backfires. So we should be recording this whole time,
I started like, I don't know, 30 seconds ago.
Oh, did you?
Because I'm just like, you know what? We should just be recording because it's not like anything else we talk about tonight's going to be any more exciting than this. So.
Yeah. Then reasons why it's comfortable sleeping in and why we enjoy rain.
Yeah.
That's what the world wants to know. Plus our 12 listeners.
Well, especially our 12 listeners.
Yeah.
Although, this one probably, we've had a big break between the last one and this one, so we probably won't get a full 12 this time.
Yeah, what happened?
Some of our listeners have probably bailed.
Why can't I remember why there's been a pause? What were we doing? How did we miss the last couple Wednesdays?
First
my brain.
The thing is, you were on vacation, but then we did one when you came back, I think, didn't we?
Right. Yeah.
And then
I know you were away.
And then there was
business.
one where I was away at work, but I don't think we were going to do it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was out of town for work, and then I don't know, something else came up. We missed another one, and I don't know, just around and around. Like, oh, you were out of power the one night too.
Oh, right. I had no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. Or not? That's right. It wasn't. You weren't out of power. You just had no internet. Internet was down. So.
Yeah, a real podcaster would have just used his phone data. And
would a real podcaster would have? Well, it's a good thing we're not real podcasters because that would have cost a fortune.
I do pay $10 per gig, so.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I never use any because I'm always around Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
When I went to Maine, I got an alert from Google that said, "You all right? You're using a ton of data."
I want to know if you're all right.
Well, I just want to warn you, we're lying in our pockets with your money. Just make sure that's okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least they warn you that they're lying in their pockets.
Right. At least like just a little chime in my ear of a money symbol. Cha-ching. Just want to let you know. Thank you. It's after 10 gigs, it's free. So just once you spend $100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I told you this already, I think, but I looked into the unlimited for my plan, but I don't know. I can't decide that it's worth it because I only have 2 gigs right now, but any unused, well, like up to a certain amount of unused will roll over, and I always have some rolling over, so I end up having like 3.5 gigs every month to start with, and I almost never even get down to 2.
Oh yeah, you don't need to spend the money. It's the security that you want, that you're looking for.
Well, not only is it the security, but it's I am careful with it. There's times when it's like, oh, I run out of, my audiobook ends and it's like, oh, there's that other one I was going to watch. Well, or listen to. Well, I'll just wait to download that until I get home. It's like, oh, I could listen to that one podcast. Well, I better just wait to do that until I can download it because, I don't want to use up my data. So mostly I was just thinking it would be nice to just be able to use it freely instead of having to pay attention to everything I use.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm so used to paying attention to it, and it would be twice as much to get unlimited. So.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem worth it.
I have that psychological thing of security, though, where I got to make sure I have enough batteries. I got to make sure my phone's always charged.
Oh, I'm the same way. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like I have 50 batteries in my tool bag for my headlamp. I better get 12 more and put them in there in case I use all those.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. It's like that would be the biggest reason I would do it. If anything, I'd probably still only use 3 a month.
Right.
It would just be like, well, I don't have to think about it though. I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. That's one thing you'd be like, oh, don't think about that one.
Even though if I went over accidentally one month, it wouldn't even cost me as much as the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we talked about this before, where you have all this. I have all this stuff in the shop, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this project. So you buy more, and then you're like, oh, I had an entire box full of stuff already, but now just add this to it.
I already had all the stuff to do this project.
Yeah, I'll set this box next to that box. Now next time I'll be like, cool, I have two boxes. But then I'll only have one box next time, so I'll have to buy another. Once you have that much extra stuff, you don't want to lose it by using it, so you just
Yeah,
buy
I
the stuff
use it. Well, if
again.
I use this, and I won't have any, so I better buy some extra.
something's,
We have
something's weird
serious
about
problems with
that.
our brains.
Like a stupid Phillips bits that come, with the screws, and I'm like, oh, good, I'm gonna save this. I have this one. I'll save this one. I have like 55 of them.
Yeah, and it's like I have this little Bosch 12-volt cordless tool set. It comes with an impact and a screwdriver, and the impact dies, and I could get just the impact by itself for
Hmm.
pretty cheap. But it's like, well, but a kit with 2 more batteries and another charger is only a little bit more, and then I'll have extra batteries.
Yeah.
And then and then it's like, it's just next thing you know, you have, now I have, 2 screwdrivers and 1
Hmm.
working impact and, 5 batteries and 2 chargers. And
Just
then I'm
in
like,
case.
the next time I see one on sale, I'm like, oh man, that's a really good deal. Maybe just in case I need new batteries, it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell's wrong with me?
Good thing you don't do that with guns and ammo,
I've never done that with guns and ammo.
No. Every time I mention guns and ammo, you always say that. I've never done that with guns. I don't have any guns. I don't do it with guns. Do you remember when we were trying to find a logical excuse to buy a new phone or to upgrade to the Pixel 5?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
I have one.
You have a Pixel 5?
No, I have an excuse
Oh,
to
you have
get
an
one
excuse.
now.
Oh, well, that's as good as having one. You know that, right?
I mean, it's not a real excuse because obviously my phone still works, but Kevin came over and Katie last week, and he wanted me to look at a noise his car was making. And it's still strange, by the way. I run this past you. It's making a really strange noise when he turns right in the front end. It clicks,
Yeah.
and it's a newer Subaru. I'm like, well, geez, I can't believe it's a CV joint. Those things
Yeah.
just don't go. Remember back in the day when like 50,000 miles, the boot would rip and the grease would fall out and they just make noise. Like
Yeah.
I haven't seen one rip or I've changed one in. I mean, not that I work on cars all the time, but I, I never have seen. I never had a problem anymore. Mazda's got 150,000 miles on it. Boots look like brand new. So anyway,
I replaced
I
them.
went out.
I replaced
Go
them
ahead.
on a car recently, but it had a lot more miles than that.
Yeah, but remember it seemed
Oh
like they were
yeah.
junk before.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I go out and it's dark and I'm like, oh, I just set my phone on his hood and lay underneath the car. And of course, I'm going to remember it's going to be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I didn't find anything. And I looked at the back and I couldn't find anything. I looked at ball joints, looked at CV joints, I looked at the tie rod ends and sway bar links, nothing. Everything was tight, looked brand new. So I was excited to tell him the good news and went inside and he left. And then couldn't find my phone.
Mm.
And Claire was there and she was leaving. I ran out in the road and stopped Claire. I'm like, call Kevin and see if my phone's still on the hood. And I have a rubber case for it. So I thought maybe it just stayed on the hood.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not there. So he turned around and went back and found it.
Oh wow.
And the case was gone. And the bottom, it was cracked pretty bad, like by the bottom right speaker. And it kind of just, the glass is kind of just like shattered in the back. It's like splintered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. I mean, it still works perfect. Even that speaker that's broken, I kind of like snapped it back in and it works. But now it's got this big crack in the bottom.
Oh, you can't have that.
And I know. And I bought a new case and you can't even see it. It's just the idea that it's broke, you know?
Yeah.
And Timmy's like, oh, why aren't you mad? It's like, because I'm going to buy a Pixel 5. But it's like, I still didn't because I'm like, it still works perfectly. It shouldn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I want to.
I lived with I had a older Samsung Galaxy that I kept for a long time, and the screen never fully broke, which is one of the reasons I never, I let it go for so long. But it got a little chip out of the bottom, and
Mm-hmm.
it like started to delaminate. I mean, it wasn't
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't a protective cover that was coming off. It was the screen itself was just getting bubbles underneath it.
Oh, that bothers you.
And then luckily they were all just down at the bottom next to like the touch buttons back when the touch buttons weren't part of the screen. They were like below
Mm-hmm.
the screen.
Yeah.
So it wasn't technically on the display, but then I also had little craters melted into the screen
Yeah.
from welding spatter.
Oh my god.
It was so funny. They were like little. It must
Well,
have just
these
been little
spatter.
BBs. It must have just been little BBs of weld spatter that hit the screen and melted into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you pick the little BB off, there was just like a perfect semicircle, just like down in the
Yeah.
glass, melted down into the glass. So there was a bunch of those all over it, and the
Those are
one,
pretty valid
the
reasons to
metal in the
change.
corner was dented really bad. I lived with it like that for a long time, and I
Yeah.
mean, it's like whatever. But then, I did finally upgrade. But man, I'll tell you, if you were already thinking about getting a phone, then if you need a more valid reason than yours being broken. I don't know if there is
Yeah, the
one.
mine sliding off a car at 50 miles an hour, riding on the pavement.
Yeah.
It's amazing that it works. I mean, I know it had a case on it, but it wasn't a OtterBox. It was just a rubber case.
Well, I mean, considering it fell off when it happened,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And Kevin's like, "Oh, you got a case on it?" I'm like, "Yeah, where's the case?" Gosh. Turned around and found the phone, but he didn't find the case.
jeez,
So I'm just sending him a
that
bill.
shows a lack of
Bill
effort
for
on
both.
his part. I
I
think.
know. I know. I'm sending him a bill for both. And I'll wait till I
Send him
get
a
that check
bill.
in the mail. I'll wait till I get that check before I actually buy a new phone.
You might be waiting a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be. So I might be a valid enough reason to replace it, but we'll see. I hate that. You see people's phones and they're like, "Oh, your phone's all cracked and looks terrible and smashed." And, it's like, "Why don't you just buy a new one? It looks terrible." But they're so freaking expensive.
That honestly, the Pixel 5 isn't even like, it's not even
The
my
more,
dream phone, but it's
yeah,
like it just on the principle of the fact that it's a quote unquote like flagship device that's under $1,000.
I know.
Isn't that sad?
I know.
I mean, remember when it was like $200 for a new phone was like kind of a pain
Yeah.
in the butt to have to spend that much?
Hmm.
And now it's like, oh, good, it's under $1,000. I guess that's not too bad. It's like, what the hell is wrong with us?
I know. But considering what it does, it
I
should be
know
worth
it's.
it.
I mean, when you consider the fact that you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't think that it was that weird if somebody spent $1,000 on a laptop,
Yeah.
And it's like that. I mean, I use my phone way more than I use any laptop.
Uh-huh.
I
I
mean,
know. When I
it's
realized that it was gone and then it dawned on me that I left it on the car, I was playing over the next day I was like playing the day out in my head
without a phone.
on a phone. And I was like panicking. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was thinking, "No, I don't really need it. I'll just wait till order a new one. It's no big deal. Let's get a new one." And I was like, "Holy hell, I'm not gonna have a phone." Like so many things that just while I'm working out listening to a podcast or just driving to work listening to or anything I'm doing, checking my account balance or any little thing that I take for granted that I do with it. Like, how am I gonna do all that stuff? And not that any of it needs done. That
Yeah,
doesn't matter. It's just the idea of not being able to.
yeah. It's kind of sad that we're that reliant on it, but
I
it's
know.
like, I don't know if it's really reliant, but just that we care that much.
Use it for an alarm, use it for a
Oh,
flashlight.
I use mine for that all the time. Not just like an alarm to wake up, but just timers
Yeah,
for things. Like
timers.
I'll start something. I'm like, oh, I need to check on that in this much time. Set a timer on
Yeah.
my phone. I mean, I do that like 3 times a day.
Yeah, and always having a flashlight that's a game changer.
I mean, I almost always kind of carry a
Yeah,
little
that's
pocket
true.
flashlight with me, anyways. But yeah, I
It is
mean,
brighter
some
than the sun.
sometimes you reach down and you don't have that, but I always have my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, you never unless you leave it on a car, you have it.
Yeah.
Have
Have
you
you
ever done something
ever
like that?
have you ever had to like leave an argument unresolved? You
Not
you
leave
have
a phone still.
Yeah, if you have a phone, you don't
Yeah.
have to. You can get an argument with, not really an argument, but like a
Yeah.
disagreement with somebody about a fact. You
Mhm.
never have to like wonder who was right. You never have to like go
Yeah.
home and just like both of you convince you're right. You get to find out who was right then and there.
Right. You can resolve it right then and there. There's
Yeah,
a episode of How I Met Your Mother where they were saying that the days of the bar argument are over. And they had a flashback and they're like arguing about what's the most popular American food. And they're just like screaming at each other, going back and forth. And at the end, nobody knew. And then they go, now it's like 2019. They're like, oh, this is a cheeseburger. And that was it.
yeah,
And they were saying they missed it. They were saying it's a bad thing.
yeah.
I mean,
Could be called a bad thing, but I wouldn't go back.
no, I wouldn't either. It's just thinking of the times that we got in fights at the bar or
Yeah,
the at Perkins with Brad. Um, Quest has my tennis shoe, and she's chewing the crap out of it. And I gotta go get her. She's taking the center thing out of it. Hold on.
Sure.
You still there?
I'm here.
Okay. Now she's standing on my keyboard.
Where's your keyboard?
Well, I set it on the couch next to me to get up, and then she goes and stands on it. So I almost sent you a message that said blah, 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 but I didn't send it.
I would have appreciated that message.
She took I got new tennis shoes, really nice Under Armour tennis shoes, and she tore the whole side off. Like, I mean, I still wear them, but gosh, everything in my life is getting destroyed. Holly. I mean, my phone and my shoes, but still.
Yeah, but that's a good start.
I know.
It's a good start towards everything.
Yes, it is. That's what I get for letting her inside all the time. Everything you have, you just have to put up like we have a toddler again.
Oh, yeah.
Anything she gets, she just grabs it and then runs to her spot and starts chewing on it. Oh, it's a zoo in here. You still need a cat, right?
I don't need a cat.
You
sorry.
You need a cat? No? Okay.
I'm sorry. I still don't need a cat.
Dang it. She might be working from home more. Still don't want a cat to curl up next to you while you're sitting at your desk. Purr. Get the scent of cat poop as you walk in the door. Who doesn't want that? You're like raising your hand. Me.
I don't want that.
No.
It's like that one joke. Can you even tell I have a cat? No, but I can tell you have a box of turds in your house.
That was Gaffigan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, knowing that as they walk across your counter and your table that they just came out of their litter box.
That's always yummy to think about.
Oh, she has another shoe, but it might be Laura's, so I don't care.
That's what a good husband you are.
Yeah. I think it is Laura's. That's funny. She is going to town on that shoe. Huh.
You're not going to do anything about it.
It's way over there. They don't know if Laura ever listens to the podcast or not. She'll be upstairs and I'll see her yell down, "Hey!"
Well, we're not live, so. Oh, you mean like when she listens to it?
Yeah.
I thought you meant right now.
When she finally gets caught up.
Yeah, you think that'll ever happen?
25. Yeah, if we ever get more time in our lives. That'll never happen. Not till all the kids are out. Imagine being bored again.
I haven't been bored in like 30 years.
Imagine that, like not having anything to do.
Even when I was younger, I remember being bored. It's like, even when I was a kid, it was like, there's always something I'm wanting to do.
Yeah, but I remember being bored and then making the mistake of telling your mom.
Well, I guess.
And then she's like, "Well, I've got a bunch of things you could do," and it's always like, "I don't want to clean the kitchen." That's not what I meant.
I'm not that bored.
Yeah, I meant something fun. Then we got Game Boys. It's like, well, geez, now we're never bored. But then you get in trouble because you play it too much. Well, I'm bored. My kids say that too. It's like, gosh, things you could do this day and age. There's never a reason to be bored anymore.
Yeah, and it's like people forget that outside exists too, right?
Right, that's true.
I mean,
okay,
you've gotten bored because you don't have an electronic device to play on right now. And I realize we just got done talking about how addicted to our phones we are. So,
yeah,
pot kettle situation. But,
right.
It's like there's an outside too. I mean,
there is. There is an outside. It's still there.
It's still there for now.
I haven't checked in a little while, but let me look out the window and see.
I was just out there a little bit ago. It's still there.
Yeah. It wasn't fun out there today, though.
No, it wasn't.
But you were really glad you weren't out in it.
I mean, I went out for a little bit, but yeah, I wasn't out there very long.
I mean, working in it.
Right. No. Yeah, I know. I wasn't out there working in it, which was nice. It was raining like the whole day.
Yeah, it was a soaker.
I wouldn't want to have to work in that. Poor bastards.
Yeah, you've done that way too much in your life. And continue to, Not that you're done. Not that you're done yet.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving's tomorrow.
Yeah, you prepared for Thanksgiving?
I made pie.
You made pie?
I made apple pie. Timmy and I did. It's a tradition. We make one every year. We've been doing it for like 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah, it's come a long way since he was 3. When we found other things in the pie that didn't belong. Now it's mostly just the ingredients in the recipe.
Yeah.
So he's got it down now.
That's good.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Not much. We're going to cook tomorrow, and that's about it.
Gonna see anybody?
No, we're going to just do I don't know, like a phone call with Nellie. That's about it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
we're going to, just going to call and we're going to talk, or I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe listen to something together, but
Yeah.
all
That's
remote. Nobody's traveling.
You're so responsible.
I don't know if it's responsibility or just laziness.
It's your excuse. Well, Daddy DeWine says I can't, so I'm gonna stay home.
Yep.
And I guess there's like 11,000 cases today, so
Yeah, that's enough.
enough. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's accurate or
Well, I
where they
did,
get these numbers. But...
Well, I did hear that they said that one of the reasons they thought that there might have been for why it was so high was because of slow reporting from several places.
Yeah.
So but it's like, well, okay, but that just
backlog,
means,
you mean?
yeah, but it's like, well, that still just means that that the last few days numbers should have been higher. Is all that means.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, maybe today's shouldn't have been quite this high, but maybe the last 3 or 4 should have been higher.
Yeah.
So
it's not a real good reputation.
It doesn't really make less cases. It just depends on which day they came in.
Yeah.
Or which day they were detected, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, it's cold out. People are staying in, and it's spreading. I mean, of course it's going to go up. I don't think anybody ever expected it to slow down, except if you can slow it down to keep the hospitals from filling up. That's the goal. But eventually, before the vaccine, people are going to get it. I had that question brought up to me again today.
What's that? Will you get the vaccine?
Well, you get actually twice in the last couple days. Will you get the vaccine?
Yeah, I've had that question. I've had that question posed to me several times over the last month or two.
I keep getting more and more passionate on my response to hell yeah. It just keeps getting. I keep getting more passionate. Yeah. And I'm like, well, and this one required a lot of a discussion after my resounding hell yeah. Because it's amazing the shock on people's faces. Like, what? You're gonna get it?
Yeah.
Sad.
That is.
But no, I don't want to go back to normal.
Yeah, I'll just take my chances.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people would look at it as you're taking your chances, a bigger chance by taking the vaccine. I don't understand that mindset. I mean,
no.
I'm not going to say doctors are perfect, and drug companies certainly aren't perfect. But, I mean, just because they're in it to make money doesn't mean they're also in it to hurt you.
Yeah, you can do both. It costs money to do the thing they're trying to do. And did you watch the Sick video recently, the newest one?
Yes.
Well, I watched it tonight while I was cleaning.
I don't know. Was it the one that? No, I didn't watch the one that came out. Which one was that?
There's one that came out like 3 hours ago when I watched it.
Oh, yeah. Where they're talking about Humans 2.0 or whatever.
Yep.
I was like halfway through it when I got a phone call. I didn't get to finish it.
Oh yeah. What you get to the point where she was saying that she didn't trust it because of how fast it came out, like how fast they're gonna. He's like, I don't know if you know, but a few people are having the sniffles around you. He's like, when the world combines the money, they pull this money together. They're trying to make. Usually it takes longer because they have to raise the money. They have to make sure it's worth it. It takes process. Now it's like everyone's pulling their money together. It has nothing to do with the speed in which you can't distrust it because it's faster.
Yeah.
It's because more people are working on it and we have more funding. It's
right.
Like you say these random things and it's like, no, that's not a reason to distrust it. It was just classic. Man. If you could think of those things in real life conversations with people, I mean, of course they'd start crying and run from the room, but it's just the greatest.
Yeah.
So funny.
I watched a video on that on vaccines earlier today.
Yeah.
It was an older video and they were just talking about
I watched one
It
too. If it's the same one, I'm gonna.
it could be. Which one did you watch? It was
Well, I watched one where a guy was just giving basic numbers on measles, and
oh
he was basically showing the difference between, the 10 million people that get measles, what would happen if you vaccinated the 10 million as opposed to not vaccinating them. And
hmm
he just basically gave the numbers based on what we know about the death rate
yeah
compared to the vaccine. And it was astonishing, the difference of, that he broke it down by, rash, fever, all the way down to how many kids will actually die. And
yeah
then he broke it down by numbers of vaccines, how many per 10 million, where they had mild reaction, a little bit of fever, a little bit of a rash. Everything is treatable. And it was literally 0 deaths. And it was like 2,500 deaths from not vaccinating anybody. 2,500 kids would die, almost guaranteed. And not only that, a lot of them would die. Some would die after that. Some would have conditions in their brain that never go away. Some would have weakened immune systems, and on and on and on,
yeah
that you wouldn't even see for years.
sure
And it was just like, it's common sense stuff. It's like, yeah, duh, we eradicated it, we fixed it. It's awesome. It's an amazing thing. How
yeah
how are we looking back now and saying this is not good? It's because it's not in the forefront of our vision anymore and in our headlines. Of
yeah
course.
yeah
Sorry. What
oh
were you
no
saying?
yeah I did remember while you were talking though. The one that I was watched was he was talking about a video where the people that are against it, they just find some little thing to point at and claim, oh, that's terrible, and then so that somehow proves that the whole thing is bad, right?
Right.
Well, what they were pointing at was they were like, okay, so there's no placebo, like double-blind placebo trials for vaccines. They're just not tested, so we don't know that they work or that they're safe. And the guy's like, you know what a double-blind placebo test is? I mean, it's like a regular drug that's designed to treat some specific ailment or disease or condition. You bring people in that already have that ailment, disease, or condition, and you give them this drug, and then you give some a placebo and see if the drug helps people. He's like, but a vaccine is designed to prevent deadly diseases. He's like, what?
Right.
You
Exactly.
couldn't ethically test that in a double-blind test. What, to double-blind test that, you would have to give a bunch of people a vaccine, not give a bunch of people the same vaccine, and then expose them all to a deadly virus to see if they get it. He's like, that's not you. You
Yeah,
can't test it like
exactly.
that. He's like, of course they don't do that testing with it.
Oh my gosh.
If you have a vaccine for, polio, you don't go expose. You don't give half the people a polio vaccine, half the people a placebo, and then go expose all of them to polio.
Right. Yeah. Good luck getting volunteers for those.
Yeah, it's like, well, half of you are probably going to die or at least have debilitating problems if the other half of you might also if the vaccine didn't work.
Oh my
It's like you
gosh.
can't. You couldn't do that. There's no ethical way to do that testing. And he said, and plus, there's like a whole bunch of stages of testing. He's like, that doesn't just because they don't do that specific test doesn't mean they aren't rigorously tested.
Yeah.
And in stage 3 of the testing, they actually do. They just give the vaccine to huge numbers of the general population, and then they just, as time goes on, they just try to see if there's any kind of statistical numbers that say that the people that they vaccinated were more or less likely to get it. So they kind of do the testing just naturally, but yeah, they're not going to do a standard clinical double-blind placebo test because they'd have to.
You mean it's not all the same as every other thing they approve?
It's
And
like,
every
okay,
other
we've created an antidote to high doses of radiation poisoning. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring you all into a room. We're going to give half of you the real thing. The other half of you are going to get a sugar pill, and then we're going to highly irradiate all of you. Half of you will die. All of you will die if our treatment doesn't work. But, we still think it's worth it.
We still have a lot of data to compile that if we move on to the next group of testing.
Yeah, it's like obviously they don't test it like that, but it's just funny the things that they latch onto to show that that's like their smoking gun, as if to show that they don't even test them. They just, it's not what they say it is. They don't even do real testing. They just push it out there to make money. And it's like,
Yeah.
he also pointed out, like, he was talking about, because they always just talk about, oh, they just put these out there to make money. He told how many billions a year vaccines are for drug companies.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the number was, but he said, sure, that sounds like a lot, but that's like 1% of the drug company's income.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 1% of their gross revenue. He's like, this
Costs
isn't
so
their bread
much
and
money.
butter.
Yeah, and it costs so much money
They
to
do
develop
it
one.
because, it actually benefits humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is a profit motive to it also, but that's not the only thing.
And I love how people don't want any risk or any chance. I'm like, no, we're human beings. Everything we do, there's a risk. Everything. Like some people have gotten in accidents, and because they didn't have their seatbelt on, they survived. So you're not going to buckle your kid in anymore because there's a chance that they could survive if you didn't. No, you still do because the chances of you surviving with the seatbelt on are so much greater.
Yeah, it's
Of
it's
course, there's always a chance that something could go wrong because we're not all exactly the same.
yeah, he touched
But
on that too.
yeah, but you take here's what you have a million people, and yeah, there may be some side effects with some of them. So you just don't do it. Oh, never mind. I can't save them all, and then there's going to be a problem, so I'm just going to give it all up, and let everybody die. It's like it's not a reason to not do it. I don't understand that thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get the person that just gives you an example of someone they know that this happened to them. Oh, okay. So, the whole correlation does not imply causation. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, of course. There's an example. That means nothing. How many people have we vaccinated in the last,
right,
50, 60 years?
right.
There's our field group study right there. Millions and millions of people. We have all that. You have 5. You got to give me something else, please. There's so many
Yeah,
avenues to argue your point. It's so easy. It's almost like the flat Earth thing. It's like we know it's round. Now you need to convince me that it's flat because we
yeah.
have all the proof.
Oh,
You've said that before.
that was what somebody said. I actually got some decent comments on my Q-Link video recently.
Oh, nice.
But of course, I've gotten a bunch more. Just like what,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like off the wall stuff. But one guy came in and somebody was saying that, like one of the commenters had said, just because you don't understand how it works doesn't mean it doesn't work. I mean, it could work, And somebody else replied, he's like, we don't say things work until we prove they don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that doesn't make any sense. You don't just assume it works until you prove it doesn't.
Right.
You assume it doesn't work until you prove it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Because
That's
you
all
can't
science
prove
right
it
there.
does. You can't prove it doesn't work. You can only prove it does.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just silly.
Yeah, there's so many avenues you can go down. It's like I don't know everything about how our bodies work, our cells. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all that stuff, but they do. They're the ones that are the smart.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the one. There's thousands of people that are trying to find a way to make it work until they do.
Yep.
And it's like the people that are making oil for engines better and better, or just inventing it to begin with to keep engines cooler and keep friction down and stuff. You mentioned someone going, "That's not going to work. You can't use that oil." Well, do you have any idea how an engine works? No, not at all. Don't put it in the engine; it's going to destroy it. You know what? You figure out how it works first, then come back and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's so ignorant. It's like, yeah, why don't you just do some research to find out how it works
But they
first?
did do their research. They watched a YouTube video, Tim.
Yeah, I
And
but
don't get
what's
me
in it?
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I
In the
have YouTube
vaccine.
videos where I put information into them. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't valid information on YouTube, but I mean, there's a lot of just baseless claims too.
What do you say to people that immediately bring up the aborted fetal tissue that's in them? Like that. What's the response to that?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one to respond to, just because people are just, you know, it's such a touchy subject.
Yeah. I just is that even a true thing? Is it?
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
Um, I guess from what I've heard, it's not like they're just continuously harvesting, you know, babies or whatever to make
Yeah.
vaccines.
Right.
It was like
That's where my mind
it
went
was like
immediately.
there was one or two like 50 years ago that
Hmm.
they took samples, tissue
Hmm.
samples from, and that those are still the ones that they're using now. They just use it
Uh-huh.
to
To
culture something.
got it.
I mean, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true either, but that's what somebody said. And then supposedly even the Catholic Church has kind of given their, I don't know if blessing is the right word, but
Yeah.
they've kind of condoned it to a point to where it's like, okay, well, it's not like you're perpetuating abortion to use this.
Hmm.
Like basically, I don't know if they're necessarily okaying um the practice, but they're basically saying, yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using vaccines just because of that.
Right.
Like you shouldn't not get vaccines that are going to save you and your family and your generations to come because of that, you know.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
of, because of something potentially unethical that somebody did 50 years ago
Hmm.
that we're still benefiting from.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say you could Google it, but that'd be a lie, so you wouldn't be able to follow that. They would produce that article or that video. So, um,
Yeah. And some people probably still would just say that's, you know, I don't know, that's still just a line that's crossed that they don't accept. And it's like, at least if that was your reason and your one and only reason, I would be like, okay, that's your principle, and you can't, you're just
mhm.
unwilling to cross it. I respect that.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
to say,
yeah.
oh well, plus they have, you know animal tissues in them, and what's that going to do to you? It's like, well, exactly. I mean, I eat animals. What does that do to
Right.
me? I mean, it's like,
Right.
oh well, you're putting animal tissues in your body. It's like, I literally put animal tissues in my body every
Yeah.
day.
Exactly. Right.
Oh, and that
Yeah.
was
That.
that was actually one of the things that guy said when he was talking about statistics. Because he was talking about, like, yes, some people do die from vaccines. Okay,
Hmm.
but they said that statistically, more people die from unexpected allergic reactions to eating.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
said, more
Exactly.
more people die every year from just an unknown allergy that just from something they ate randomly in their life. They're just eating a meal one day and they just have an allergic reaction and die.
Yeah.
And way more people die from that. So he said, I mean, if you're just worried about the risk, literally your next meal has more risk of you dying from an allergic reaction than a vaccine has of killing you.
Yeah. The numbers are staggering. That one lady said that it was, and this isn't these. You can't. Okay, maybe they could fudge the numbers, but I mean, you can find the statistics considering how many millions get vaccinated. I mean, there is a true number, and she was doing the math, and it's like 100 times more likely to get struck by lightning than dying from a vaccine.
Yeah.
That's a huge number. Like that's we use that for the lottery. Is a better chance to get struck by lightning once than winning the lottery. It's 100 times more likely. And I just googled it. I know we're going to the man, but you were almost exactly right. It says the fetal embryo fibroblast cells used to grow vaccine viruses were first obtained from an elective termination of two pregnancies in the early 1960s. These same embryonic cells obtained from the early 1960s have continued to grow in the laboratory and are used to make vaccines today. No further sources of fetal cells are needed to make these vaccines.
Yeah.
So
That's
there
what
you
I'd
go.
heard.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
I don't even think they're used in all vaccines, but there
Yeah,
are
it
certain
says
vaccines that they're used in.
it lists the ones that they use them in,
Yeah.
and there's only three here.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, okay. See, I'm glad I asked that. Someone asked me that, and I didn't know what to say. But you hear something like that, and I could have been like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that. I'm done with vaccines." Or you could actually find out
Yeah.
where that comes from, you know. And here's the thing. Years ago, when we first had our kids, I, we didn't vaccinate them because I was an idiot. I was ignorant, and I didn't take the time to do it. I literally was like, I have this new baby girl. I don't want to make her owie by sticking a needle in her
Yeah.
and then have to deal with a fever. And I didn't look at it past then. And then you go to the point where we had our second child. We had Timmy, and Ellie was 2, and it's like, well, I haven't slept in 2 years. So we're having a second child. I don't want him to get sick from the vaccine, whether it's mild or not. It was like that mindset, but I never took the time to actually research it. But once you do, you're like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? What was I thinking? And this person also said to me, well, we're all fine. But thank God that everyone else is doing their job, their
Yeah.
part as a good human. Because if they didn't, then we wouldn't be fine, and we'd have to watch our kids die from some disease that could have been preventable.
Yeah.
I'm thanking the people that didn't take my path. And, now that my kids are older, there's certain vaccines that they still need. They don't need those anymore. And luckily, we didn't contribute to anything, or they didn't get sick or die from whooping cough, or, weren't in the park was it California when the measles outbreak happened. And that was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that in the news? That could have been worse. It would have been worse than it was if we didn't have that herd immunity. And, some kids died from that tragically,
Yeah.
you know. So it's like, yeah, thank God we survived. They survived childhood not getting the vaccines, but that was stupid on my part. And I take all the credit for not doing research and just getting lucky. I'm like, that's just a bad move. But new parents, you're young, and you just don't think it through. And
Or you do think it through, but the book that you read and the person that you talk
right,
to
that too.
scares the living daylights out of you, telling
Right.
you that the vaccine is going to, give your kid all these kind of diseases and make them sickly the rest of their life, so that,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
You don't love your kid less than the person that gets the vaccine. It's just you're scared and misinformed and all that
Sure.
stuff. Yeah, it's really sad. There's just yeah, I don't know how we got in this tangent, but um, when the person was asking me that today, I just kind of it was like an hour of me not being disrespectful or going off, but passionately explaining all these points. And it's amazing how people are just like, "Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that," or "Wow, that never occurred to me." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, one of the arguments was that the whole controlling thing, they're trying to control us, or it's like Satan's way of. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm like, you need to tell me why. Like, what's the goal for all the? You need to tell me the reason why they would be doing this. I mean, I don't understand the purpose of it. Clearly, they're trying to save people, and clearly, less people are dying. So how is that an evil goal? Right?
Yeah, I don't I don't know.
My brain hurts trying to wrap my head around that. Um, that Satan's behind COVID and the vaccine. Okay, why? What's the point? Explain. And then there's like silence, and I don't know, because evil exists somehow. Like, we have pandemics and viruses enter. We've had them it seems like every 15, 20 years. And starting with way before, obviously, Spanish flu. I mean, you look at
Oh yeah.
past days when 90% of populations would get wiped out from something that was brought overseas, and it would just destroy 90% of the population because they didn't have a way to fix it.
Yeah.
And look how we've grown from that. You know, I mean, how many people did the Spanish flu kill?
Oh, I don't know.
And
I had to look it up. It was
but I mean, look where we are 100 years later.
yeah.
We could prevent this. 50 million. Just looked it up. Just 50 million. But let's not create a vaccine and try to keep those numbers way, way, way down. Let's because we're worried that there's going to be controlling elements in it, or Satan is behind it because it might save people. I don't. It just I don't know. Where does all this stuff start, and how do we get so out of control?
I don't know.
Anyway, just 50 million. It's estimated that 500 million people, or 1/3 of the world's population, became infected with the virus.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow. So happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, let's think about what we're thankful for.
Yeah. So thankful that the vaccine's almost here.
Yeah.
It's a really neat how they're going to distribute it with the how cold it has to be, and like how many degrees below zero they have to keep that vaccine
Oh, I
before
heard
it's.
that. I heard there was some new one. I don't know. I just saw the headline that there's like 3 or 4 different companies
Yeah.
all working on them. And I
Mm-hmm.
heard that there's another one by another company that's going into testing that doesn't have to be kept cold.
There we go.
But I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if it's as effective or how it'll, if it'll come out of
Mhm.
testing in time, or if it'll prove as effective as the other one. But there's another one that's like entering testing that it doesn't have to be as
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. Pfizer is. I know they're concluding phase 3 study right now.
Yeah, I think
But
phase 3 is the one where it's the kind of the last one where they generally will start distributing it to a lot of people, and just
yeah.
they're not going to expose the people to the virus, but they're just going to just anybody that's willing to get it, here you go, and because it doesn't hurt you, so here you go. So let's see if
Right.
it's as effective as it has proved to be in other testing.
95% effective.
Because once you get it out into the real, I mean, you can
It's
test
got a
it in
10%
a lot of
drop.
different situations, but
Yeah.
once you actually get it out into thousands of people in the real world, then you might start to see other things.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's exciting knowing that that's around the corner and that they did it that fast. My whole thing is that if you're going to be thankful for something, be thankful for those people that have come together to create this, to
yeah,
save lives, and get things back to normal. Don't push against it. Embrace
yeah,
it and be thankful.
yeah, and we've talked about this before, but that's one of the things. It's like anybody that believes this, that vaccines are just out to harm people and kill them, or control their brains to do whatever. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, think about the thousands of people at these companies that have to work on this virus to try and get it to do what it's supposed to do. I mean, are you seriously going to say that every one of those people is just like some evil,
Right.
murderous person that isn't trying just to go to work every day to try and do something to help people?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I sent you that thing. Researchers delay coronavirus vaccine until they can figure out how to make it cause autism.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, that's what they're doing. I failed again today. Oh, you couldn't make it work. No, I couldn't cause autism. Oh, we'll go back to the drawing board and try again. Like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive, but I just have to think. I mean, yeah, there's terrible people out there, but I think overall, in general, people aren't that bad.
No, you're not naive. I mean, how many people? I did the math the other day, okay, on how many people I've talked to in my 13 years on the job.
Have you?
Yes, because I have a list. I have a one note that I open every day, and I write down every call I take, and I averaged up a month, and then I times that by how many weeks I'm there in the past 13 years, and I've talked to 340,000 people. And I'm not like having full conversations with them and getting to know them personally,
Sure.
but you can pretty much tell people are usually like 95% of people are decent, kind people. Like they're not mean to me. It's not hard to deal with. And the 5% stand out because they're assholes, but I mean
Even
that
that,
says something.
even that asshole though,
Right.
they might have been going through something
Right.
rough,
Exactly.
and they might have been upset by it. But if you were like there in person, they wouldn't be like, "I'm gonna fucking spend the next 15 years of my life in a lab, leaning over a microscope, trying to find a way to give you and your kids autism."
Right, exactly. I mean, I know it's kind of a stupid thing that I've talked to that many, but it's just I was thinking, wow, you know what? Most of those people are just regular
They're
people
just
like
people.
me.
Yeah.
People. But why do we do that when we don't know them, or there's a big group, or that they're trying to the medical community, the government. like they're individual people.
Yeah.
Still, you have to
Oh,
break it down that way.
but
And
I
they're
will say,
not
in the
trying to tell
government,
you.
most of them are jerks,
Well,
but still.
yeah. I mean, I shouldn't have used that as an example. Yeah, I mean that was bad. But most people, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that CEO, like, well, no, I mean, just because of him, there's thousands of people that have jobs. I mean, you can't just paint this broad brush about people and say, well, they're doing this and they have too much money or they're, no, you maybe want to get to know them first before you say that
Yeah.
or what they did to even actors. It's like most of them, most of they had terrible time getting to the point where they are wealthy now. They failed 1,000 times. They lived in their car. They were homeless. And then they got a break and someone paid them a bunch of money. It's like, what? Who cares? I know that the whole platform of, they're going to get political, and I don't give a shit about your political opinion, but
Yeah.
it's like that they worked hard to get to where they are too, and all they want to do is have money and feed their family as well. It's
Yeah.
like you can't just look at people just because they're rich as that type of person. It just bothers me. Speaking of that, how much you have in your savings? I don't know if I hate you or not. Just
Oh,
text
you
me the number.
you don't have
Text me the
I
number.
don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to hate me. I can assure you that.
Just to make sure we can be friends still.
Yeah. Oh
Remember
yeah.
when
We're still
remember on
good.
Seinfeld when Elaine found out how much money Jerry made? Changed their whole relationship.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, he was counting all the money he had,
Yeah.
and she's just like staring at him, and he loses track for a second, and she knows exactly what number he's on. And he like looks at her like, "Why are you counting?" And she sees a check that he got and how much money he made, and it changed their whole relationship. She didn't know how to act around him anymore. Most things in my life come back to Seinfeld. So
Yeah. Well, it makes
yeah,
sense.
or The Office, one or the other.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is fun. This is no topics, no specific
No.
topics, just
No topics. Just we haven't sat down and done this for a while, so let's just BS for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah, that's great. I know we're keeping it a little cleaner than some of our other conversations where specific words come out, anger,
Do they?
passion. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes I wish we could record some of our other conversations.
Well,
Maybe I'll just secretly have our Utah trip recorded the whole time, and then we'll put that in a podcast.
Yeah. Well, maybe not secretly the whole time, but we're gonna do a podcast when we're out there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to.
We even is it September, October? Do we nail down a month yet? Flora asked the other
We
day.
said September, but I mean, I don't. It's
That's
it's
before October, right? Okay,
that is before October.
so let's do that.
It's
Flora
still
said, "Well,
it's still 10 months away, so it's not like we're locked into anything. But
yeah." I said something about, well, I mean, I hope we could even go. She's like, you're already planning on it. I'm like, well, our planning on it consisted of we're gonna go in September, October, and
yeah.
that's as far as we got.
Hey, I'll
I
request
mean,
a day. I'll request the days off tomorrow.
yeah,
I
I
don't
will
care.
too. Yeah, we'll nail down the time, and I'll request the days.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it won't be on the quarantine list by then.
Oh, it's
Hopefully they.
hopefully the vaccine will be out, and then we can just have to like flash our "I got the vaccine" badge at the border.
Yeah, someone said that to me too. What if they make you get it? It's like, then I'll be first in line.
Yeah.
I
Woohoo!
mean,
Free vaccine.
yeah, if they let me. Heck, I'll even give them $20 as a tip. Good job.
Yeah.
Someone was saying, I wonder who they'll give it to first. I was like, the people in the trial that got the
Yeah.
placebo.
The
Like,
people that already have it because they're in the trial.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that. That's probably a good idea. People that volunteered, those are some heroes there,
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I
I
don't know if I would have done that. Yeah, I probably would have. They can't be making them that making that much money. I don't know if they make any money or if they pay them much. It's like one of those things where you get to try a product, see if it works.
I
Go home,
I
tell
was
me how you feel.
I was part of a study one time where they paid you.
Oh yeah. Oh, do
It
I
wa-
want to hear this? Is this public news?
It's nothing
Breaking
weird.
news.
It's nothing weird. It was like,
And did you have an erection for 4
oh, what the
hours?
heck was it? It was like, it wasn't a drug study. It was I forget what the heck it was like. But you know those things where they put you in a room and it's like a like that thing that, oh, what the heck do they call it?
You abducted by aliens.
No. She had to do it on Parks and Rec when she was running for when she was running for city
yeah.
council. What do they call it? Where they have that they have the room of people where they just like show them a video and ask them what they thought about you and stuff.
I know. I can't think of the name of it.
But it was like me and like 15 other people in this room sitting around a table, and every one of us had a bowl of multicolored M&Ms sitting in front of us. And then they were like, they were arranged a specific way. Like I noticed all the weird stuff going on in this room. Like everybody had a bowl of these M&Ms, and they were all arranged like in certain colors and in certain orders. And then we all had to watch some video, and I can't remember what the video even was anymore. It's been so long. But I don't know if it was like an advertisement or just somebody talking, or it was just like some 5 or 10 minute video that we had to watch. And then they passed around a piece of paper and we had to answer questions about the video, like what we thought about different parts of the video. And we left, and I'm like, man, they could have actually cared about that video, or they could have cared not at all about that video. And they could have been like trying to figure out what would be the next color of M&M they should introduce.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. You hear people talking that apparently been friends for years, and one of them will say something, and you're like, how did they not know about that? Now I know how that could happen. I never heard that.
Yeah.
And how did you get involved in it?
This was back when malls were a thing.
Okay.
And there was some like, I was at the mall shopping, and there was just some company there that was just running they'd running some kind of test, and they said, they handed out pamphlets, and they were like, we're doing this test in a week, and it pays $10 if you just come here and be part. Yeah, they pay like $10 to be part of a that the name of what they called it slips my mind, but it was that kind of thing where just that kind of panel where you answer some questions afterwards, and so like a research panel, and I'm like, okay, I live right down the road. I'm young, I got nothing to do. I'll come back here.
You must have been young, because nowadays you're like $10, make it 100 just to walk in there.
It was the kind of time where, I was always willing to go, to the mall and look at, some, electronics store, video game store, or something like that. There's always some store you want to go check something out. I'll spend, a little bit of time in the mall on the weekend. Not that I ever really liked malls personally, but it was just the only place in my town that had, an electronics store and a music store and, stuff like that. But yeah, I went back there the next time, and I went in there and I sat in that room and like got creeped out by the M&M. I didn't eat any of the M&Ms. I was like, I'm going to be the one guy that they're like, so why did subject 17 not eat the M&Ms?
They're trying to analyze why.
So
is that the same mall you used to get makeovers at? Because those weren't free, were they?
The makeovers were expensive. That $10 didn't go very far towards my makeovers, I'll tell you.
You were walking through Estee Lauder or whatever the hell Dillard's, and then you sit down and
honestly, usually if I went to the mall, I wasn't going by myself. I was going with my sister Nellie.
Okay.
She was usually the one that wanted to go walk around the mall, but I mean, I had nothing else to do. I was usually, she was like, "Yeah, I want to go to the mall." I'm like, whatever, sure. I'll walk around like the Discovery store and
like a good mall walk.
KB, what was it? Was it KB Toys that had the video games? I would always go to KB Toys and I would always go to KB Toys and look at, I don't know, Game Boy games or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like, wow, I could go out in the mall, not eat some M&Ms in a room, get $10 and still not have enough to buy a Game Boy game, but it's a start, get you close.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, I went and did that. And it was actually, I think Nellie might have went with me. I think we both went, and we were both like creeped out by the M&Ms. I don't think either one of us ate any.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
We were laughing about it afterwards when we got out of there.
You all drugged up somewhere, and
it was country. Like the whole rest of the day we were talking about what the heck they were trying to find out by that. Yeah,
it
was so weird and random. It's like, do Did they actually care at all about what was on the screen, or were they just doing some other kind of weird psychological experiment, you know?
Yeah, that's what it was. Do you remember what year that was? I'm gonna start Googling and see if I can find some videos.
Yeah.
They probably recorded you.
There's probably still people sitting around in rooms analyzing that video, wondering what the heck they did wrong with that test, you know?
I wonder what the point of it was.
I don't know.
So funny.
They gave everybody in there $10.
Yeah. That must have been some purpose then.
Yeah.
Wow. See? Things you don't know about each other.
Mm-hmm. Were you ever any part of any
Anything
creepy, weird studies in the back of a mall?
Not that I'm going to tell you about. No, can't say that I have. That's great.
No, but the guy behind the mall that I spent some time with the one day told me that it was for research purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't give me any money. I asked her afterwards. Oh, this is PG. I'm sorry.
That's disgusting.
I know. I'm sorry. He was trying to save face. Because you would have never said that if you weren't recording. Did you start watching The Queen's Gambit yet?
I haven't. Did you start watching Fargo
doing
yet?
with your time? Gosh.
I don't know. Working?
Jeez. I guess I did just talk to you on Tuesday about it.
Going to Home Depot, of course, because I own a house.
I did that last night.
Did you? I went today.
Yeah, I went and bought 100 foot of wire, 14-2 indoor wiring, and when I got home, it was outdoor.
No, nice. Yeah, it still works inside, though.
It still works inside, but that stuff's a pain in the ass to use.
Yeah.
It's so hard to bend.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I threw away my receipt because I'm like, well, all this miscellaneous stuff, I'm not going to take any of this back. I'm going to use it today. And then I take it back. I was going to save it. One of those things where you're like, well, then I'll have 100 foot of out. And when I went out to put it in the pile of electrical stuff I have, and there was 100 foot of outdoor wiring there. So, I don't need 200 feet.
Yeah, you know? Back to what we were talking about.
Yeah. And so I took it back last night and exchanged it for indoor and saved me like $15. Nice. I didn't have to eat. I didn't have to sit in a mall and not eat M&Ms.
So
$15.
When I went out tonight, I had an experience that I've had something similar to this before, but today it was so blatant and just so over the top that it's like it's crazy. And I don't know if it's a failing of our educational system or if it's just the fact that people are so reliant on digital devices to do everything, they just don't think, or I don't know what it is, but I've noticed in my life that sometimes people have a little bit of trouble making change.
Yeah.
They take a little bit longer than you think they might supposedly have to take to make change.
They weren't using the computer to figure it out?
Sometimes something happens, something messes up with the computer or the drawer closes or something. They have to figure it out on their own, and it takes a while. Today, I was paying with cash against my better judgment, and I had just happened to have some change, and I thought, well, they always say that they have these signs everywhere now that, please pay with exact change because of the coin shortage or whatever. So I'm like, I'm just going to pay with exact change. And my total was $12.42.
Uh-huh.
So I handed the girl a 20, and then I handed her 42 cents. And she looked at it, and she said, what, how much is here? And I said, 42 cents.
Yeah.
And she counted it then. And she threw it in the drawer and pressed a button on the register and then went, oh, dang it.
Give you the $8.
Hold on a minute. And then she walked away. And
no.
I'm sitting there thinking, what, did she accidentally only hit 20 and not the 42 cents? Or did she just clear it and now she doesn't know how much? I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense because I gave her exact change. I'm like, that's not it. It's just something else is wrong. It's just something else.
Right.
I'm sitting there waiting for a while and she finally comes back. She grabs a 5, 2 ones, and then starts counting change out.
And
4
quarters, maybe. Huh?
And then she hands. That's what I was kind of thinking, but it was not. And then, so she hands me. She's like, $7.58. It's your change. And I said, "What? It should be $8." And she's like, "Oh, what? No, it's $7.58 is your change." And I said, "Well, I gave you $20.42." And She's like, yeah, I accidentally didn't enter the $40 or the $20, so I only entered the 42, so I didn't know how much change to give you, so I had to go ask.
Oh, that's sad.
And I'm like, oh, well, okay, but I gave you $20.42 though, so I mean, I gave you the 42, so it should be an even 8 back. And she just like stares down at the $7.58 in her hands, and then stares back at me, and she's like, well, but no, your change is $7.58. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. And I just took the $7.58 and left because I'm like, I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
it's not worth the 58 cents. I don't care.
Oh my god, that's sad.
Or the 42 cents, not worth the 42 cents. What's that?
Oh, he lost 42 cents on that deal.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't even care about the 42 cents, but it was just, I wouldn't have even argued it, but my mind couldn't I'm like, I was just baffled. Yeah. I'm like, well, but it should be $8. I mean, like, it should have been easier to figure out how much change I need back because I gave you exact change.
Just give me $8. It's one of those things where she's nervous because
I know. I'm sure that's all it is. She hit the. She was pretty young. She's probably new. She hit the wrong button. She panicked. She was nervous. Then she has to go talk to her boss because she messed something up, and I'm sure that's just it. That's all it is. Just not where her head was.
Aren't nice, and you know how you're going to react.
Yeah, and that's why I was just like, you know what? That's sure. I'll give you my $7.58. I'll be on my way.
Yeah, and then you keyed her car. But yeah, I mean,
I burned the place down. But it's just, you know.
I mean, it's a big deal. It's fine.
No, I really don't. Like I said, I didn't even care about the change, but it was just like, wow, I can't even. It just doesn't even. I don't know. It's just. I guess people must just be so dependent on the device now. Nobody even has to do a multiple of 10 in their head ever.
Mm-mm. No.
It just they don't have to. So it's just like. It's like our brains have just adapted to not having to take in that information. Like they hear that information and they just automatically discard it because they're like, I will never need that.
Yep.
Because I have a computer in my pocket that can tell me the answer.
I remember in 4th grade math, we all wanted to use our computers for the test, and the teacher said, you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket. So you have to get used to not using one. And now we all have calculators in our pocket.
Yeah.
You know, so we just immediately go to that, and then you just, let's do it this way.
Yeah. Yep.
I like doing math in my head, though.
I always prefer to do it in my head. Like that was one of the problems I had in math class was that I didn't always show the full work because I'm like, it's just easier to do it in my head. Like, really, you're gonna have to write that out to get the right answer. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No, here it is. Because that took so much time. It was like a page full of here's how I came to the conclusion, and that was part what we had to send in was how we came to the answer.
Oh, it's because they want to know that you didn't just look it up or something. They want to know that you can do the work, and I could, but it was just like, oh gosh, let me just do it in my head.
Yeah, the teacher had the book. How are you gonna look it up? You couldn't Google it back then.
Yeah.
Gosh, how easy do they have it now?
I mean,
no, not gonna be old. No, I'm not gonna go there.
I'm still not that good at math because of that. Not because I couldn't be good at it or learn it, but just because I didn't, because I was just sick of them making me not do it in my head. So I just didn't take any math if I didn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to the Office Rewatch podcast with Jenna Fisher, and she was saying how she took a year where she didn't use a calculator and wanted to do math in her head. So she took an entire year. And Angela said, well, what did you learn at the end of that year? Could you then do math in your head really well? And she was positive. She was like, no, I just started using the calculator. She's like, you wasted an entire year. It was just the idea that maybe you could then, and maybe you wouldn't need a calculator.
Yeah.
At the same time, when people, remember old people advanced, which are probably our age, used to get mad at us because we'd use the computer and we'd count out, and they were like, when I was young, we had to do that in our head. And I was like, that's why we invented this, dumbass. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and it sucked, didn't it? Because that's why they made these.
Yeah, you used to walk to the store too, so we invented cars. You don't walk past the car and yell at the person and say, when I was young, I used to walk. Yeah, we made it easier. Throw stuff at Amish people. I mean, who does that? Oh, wait. My kids just don't appreciate the Amish. They just think they're stupid for not using cars. It's
Yeah.
it's just so funny. Try to explain to them why that they live that way. But
Yeah.
then I'm like, why do they live that way?
Yes. I mean, you know, like the reasons technically, and you
Right,
can tell it
right.
to them, but then afterwards you're like thinking, man, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think I've said it out loud too many times because last time we went to the Ashery, we were driving through Millersburg, and my 15-year-old, she all these clothes hanging out in the line, and when she just randomly yells out, "Get a dryer, dumbasses!" I mean,
Oh
and
man.
she got that from her mom, of course.
Oh
And
yeah, I'm sure.
I just busted out laughing, and I'm like, "Yeah, heck, they're saving the environment. Come on, don't
Yeah.
criticize them." My mom used to hang clothes out in the line. It was because she didn't want to spend money on the dryer, but I don't do that. I don't know what it costs to run a dryer for, but whatever it costs, it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, out here it's like, am I going to be here to take them in? It rains half the
Right.
time. There's birds everywhere. Trees are gonna, my
Yeah.
clothes are gonna end up crapped on, and
I
I don't
tried it
know.
one time. I thought, you know what? My clothes are gonna smell like fresh air. It's gonna be great. I don't have to run the dryer. I'm gonna go stand outside. And when I got them when they were drying, they were like crispy and hard. I don't know what happened. I'm like, how do you dry clothes the wrong way? How do you reduce the amount of moisture in an article of clothing the wrong way? But it didn't work. I had to re-put them in the dryer to get them so they weren't like crunchy.
Didn't work.
It didn't work. So ever since then, I'm like, I'm not gonna try it again.
No, I
Maybe
think
I got
that's actually
maybe I got
normal.
bad
I
air.
think that's normal. I think that's why you see them out there like beating on the sheets and stuff. It's to like soften them back up.
Oh, you know what? I never saw an Amish person beating on a sheet. I thought they'd get the dust off the rugs.
No, I don't know. I think that is what it is. They're just out there dusting the rugs and stuff.
No, it was like I put them in the basket and they were like crunchy and like pushing
Crunchy.
down. Like, this isn't right. And then I'd run my dryer anyway. So what's the point? And you know what? I got better things with my time than hang clothes on the line and with clothespins and stuff. It just
Because you
seems
have a dryer.
right.
If
It
I
just
didn't
seems
have a
so
dryer, sure, I'll do what it takes to get done, but I do
right.
have a dryer.
Right. Yeah, I guess the Amish are lacking the dryer. But
Except for the ones with
and
generators, which is like 50%
right.
of them out here.
Right. And instead of, saying, Ellie, don't say that, I just busted out laughing. So and now we laugh about it all the time because, I mean, what do I expect her not to be like me? Like, seriously?
You can't really, it's really hard to
Oh,
blame her when she grows up with you.
I know. I mean, it's just spent a lot of time with me. And sometimes I can be a smart ass occasionally.
Yeah.
I think it's ever since I started hanging out with you,
Is that what? Oh, now see
I,
the blame. Now the
I wasn't
blame's
like that.
going.
It's the hours of video games. We just like ridicule each other and put each other down constantly. So I'm gonna get a PS5, and you're gonna come over and we're gonna play video games again.
All right.
I can find one. Where can I get one?
Store.
I'm about to wait after the holiday season.
Probably.
Yeah. That's unfair.
You could just get on. You could just get on like eBay and pay for like 5 times as much.
Yeah, I've never done that before.
I never
Where
have
you
either.
pay more for something so you can have it quicker or at the time of the release.
Yeah, it
I've never.
doesn't seem worth it.
No. People do that though. I'm surprised at people because I remember one year, East of Chicago's gave away like a free small pizza, and there was people lined up for hours waiting in line.
For a
And I'm like,
pizza.
free small pizza, yeah, one small pizza. I was working and I was coming down. I'm like, what are these people lined up down the road? That's it. So
Wow.
that same person would probably spend the extra 400 to get it next day, or
Probably. And don't get me wrong, I'm impatient. I've paid for overnight
yeah,
shipping on things sometimes.
yeah,
If it's going to make a difference that I have it, if it's like, okay, well, I'm off tomorrow, I could actually use it tomorrow. I'll pay the extra to get it here by tomorrow. So
they're out of the little blue pill at the pharmacy. You got to do what you got to do.
exactly.
I understand. Yeah, I'm gonna use it
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. I'm gonna get off. I know. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to give away what it was. That was private.
PG, Tim.
Sorry. Harvey, you know what we hadn't done yet at this point?
Actually, I think I'm the one that said the
community.
F word in this
No, I don't
podcast.
think
So
you
I did. I did once.
But we hadn't insulted the Amish community till just now.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about how many
We do
people
have a tradition of insulting at least one group per podcast.
And it wasn't really us; it was my dog. So that doesn't.
Yeah, well,
You know,
the good news is they won't ever hear this to be able to come after us.
that's true, unless they fire up the old generator. But
yeah, but then they're not allowed to be connected to the grid, so they won't be able to have internet.
oh my gosh, we're safe.
Yeah.
Screw you, Amish. Go ahead.
Plus they tend to be like, nonviolent.
That's true.
So
yeah, it's all around the perfect group to criticize. It's perfect. So what did you order overnight? You don't remember. Just that you've paid extra to get
I
it
just
here.
have paid extra before to get stuff overnight.
Yeah. Okay. I have too. And ever since the introduction of Amazon Prime, you don't really need to.
Well, yeah, you don't need to until you order something from somewhere else, and you're like, it's gonna take 3 days.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that
what?
sad?
I'll just pay the extra $7 to get it here in 2 days.
Or did you ever see they give you like $1 credit if extra day? I'm like, yeah, right.
Well, here's the thing. If it is just like an extra day or two and I don't need it, that's fine. I might do that.
Yeah.
But it's usually like, okay, it can be here in 2 days for free, or you can get $1 of digital credit towards some particular group of stuff that you'll never care about, and your product will come in 3 weeks. It's like, what?
3 weeks.
It's like, seriously. It's like, if it was just a couple extra days, like whatever, I might pick it just so that you don't have to waste the time and money and energy to get it to me that quick, because I don't need it. But
but if worried about the people in the shipping department.
But if it's free, I'm not gonna. I ain't got time to wait like 3 weeks. Forget that.
Away. You don't. We used to have to, write all that slip in the middle of the catalog where you fill it all out and you send it in, and then in 4 to 6 years you get your stuff. Now we're like 3 days. Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you, Walmart? I'm going back to Amazon. It's ridiculous.
I don't know if I've ever ordered anything from Walmart. Have you?
Well, I have before, and it was just because Amazon didn't have it. But they had.
Yeah.
That was right when they switched to their whole 2-day shipping that they were so proud of. I'm like, yeah. Jeff Bezos has been doing this for years.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes, like when I search for something on Google, I'll see that it's on Walmart's website. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I know they have like their marketplace now where they have tons of stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at some coffee that I like, and I was seeing price difference, and it was like $2 less on Walmart, but I had to wait 3 days.
Yeah,
not worth it.
Not if you're out of coffee.
No, exactly. Yeah, I get fidgety and I get angry, and my kids can't live with me. I have my fix. That and alcohol,
Oh yeah, I know you're a major drinker.
A boozer. It's quarantine time. I always hear that people, well, I've started drinking so much more now that I'm quarantined. I'm like, seriously? You're drinking more? But that's a thing you hear about. Like, I saw the trash guy. I was out there doing something a couple weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, we go to allotments, and there's like twice as much empty bottles now.
Wow.
I'm like, that's so sad. Twice as many? I mean, he's the guy that knows.
Yeah.
Sees it firsthand. So maybe this was all a big ploy from Big Beer.
Big alcohol.
Big alcohol was losing money in sales, so they're like, we're going to Wuhan.
Let's create a virus that keeps everybody stuck at home where they have nothing to do but be afraid of everything and drink.
Yep.
That's it. We nailed it.
You missed us though.
Yeah.
We never bought anything more.
Skips right over the people that don't actually drink.
Yeah, I know. Someone brought a 6-pack of something over at the 4th of July, and I was just putting some groceries in the pantry the other day. I'm like, oh, there's 5 in here still. I wonder when they go bad. I guess I better find that out so I can get back to them. So that's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes, it has. Wow.
You know
Time
what?
flies.
We didn't even follow what do we call those things?
Outline?
Outline or anything. This is
Yep.
amazing. Imagine two people can bullshit for an hour and 20 minutes and have no topic. I kind of
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, I don't know if it'll be an entertaining podcast. Probably won't get any viewers, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Or listeners, I
No,
guess,
that
should say. There's not really much to view.
no. You ever gonna fix that? Add video?
I don't know what
Add
that video
video
would be of, but
Video
sure.
of your GoPro driving up Black Bear. You know,
Yeah, we could do that.
except the audio would have to be taken out.
That's fine.
You and Valerie had some interesting discussions, and we were talking to the other back and forth on the radio. That was the best part of the video. That might be something. That'd be kind of fun. Of course, I'd be the only one interested in it, but still,
We would get one viewer, and that viewer would appreciate the content.
and it would be me. Yeah, I know my kids were excited about us doing another podcast, so we do have those fans. So if
Well,
you could
that's
just
good.
get busy, have a few kids, we could double our
Fan base?
viewership base. Yeah, yeah. It's not worth it.
It's not. Wow. You know they're going to listen to this, right?
I'm just kidding. Of course. I just know that Laura and I got to get away for a couple days, and we just realized that how quiet it can be. It was amazing. Like, oh my gosh, you could think of the words you want to say before you say them, and then no one interrupts you. We always find that we're pausing because we're waiting for interruption that doesn't come. Like, oh, we can just continue to talk. But it was so amazing that it was the first time we went away where we just checked in and we were just sitting in front of these two chairs in front of the fire for a couple hours
Wow.
and just sat there. Like at one point, I picked up a magazine. I had a magazine next to the fireplace, and it was kind of a hoity-toity place.
Ooh.
Not like super expensive, but more expensive than the places we usually stay. It was in
Yeah.
Hocking Hills.
More
It was
expensive than
nice.
like the $49,
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot more than that. And the magazines were just dedicated to fancy cars that were for sale.
Really?
And I was just paging through them and looking at the prices, and they're used, a couple years old, with 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it for $400,000.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I was just looking through those and like, this is actually really interesting. Then have a article about a new sports car that's coming out, and I got to read it and stuff. But I was like, I haven't read a catalog, a magazine. I can't remember when, and it was fun. It was old school.
Yeah. What magazine was it?
Nice.
Do you know? Do you
I
remember?
don't remember.
Yeah.
No, but they had a house for sale in there. It had a bowling alley, 11 bathrooms and 7 bedrooms. Which
I don't know
what
those people must have problems. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it didn't say anything about the reasoning, but it was 11 million. So I didn't call, but that was what they were advertising for: $400,000 sports cars and 11 million houses. It was pretty cool. But anyway, it was amazing though, because we didn't know where we were going to eat, and we just took the GPS and nearby restaurants and be like, oh, let's go to that one. And that was the decision, and we ate there. It was so easy, and it was simple. Just went and ate dinner. Nobody else was paying from the back. Nobody didn't want the food. Nobody said, what kind of chicken nuggets do they have, or what kind of chicken strips do they have? I'm like, it's chicken deep fried. It's no different. It's all the same at every restaurant. You can go anywhere, and they always have chicken strips for kids, and they're still like, well, I don't want to eat there. Like, so anyway, it was really nice. It was the day of the windstorm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you lucked out being out of town for that.
I know. Didn't have to go to work the next day, and it was bad. Did you get really bad at your place?
We got a serious amount of wind. Actually, it bent the bracket on my screen door. I still have to fix that.
Whoa.
And there was something else that was like the first time. I mean, we've gotten a lot of wind here.
Was it your fireplace or something you were saying?
Oh yeah, that's what it was. I was like, I knew there was something basically, I mean, we get a lot of wind out here. It is common for it to be very windy, and we've had some major windstorms in the 4 years or so we've been here. during this windstorm, that was the first time ever that my flue flapped open and back closed
That's crazy.
in my
The
in
first
my
time you've
chimney.
seen that.
And but at the same time, it didn't seem as bad as usual. So I don't know if it's just the direction it was coming from or what. I mean, I say
Yeah.
bad as usual. It was very, very bad, but it was like, I don't know if it was the worst it's ever been. But we had like a few just like small dead branches down, just little stuff. Nothing too bad. I guess there was a couple of trees or poles or something down nearby. So there was like a few outages, but it was minor stuff.
But you
But
didn't lose power.
we never lost power during that. We lost power recently when somebody took a pole out right down the road from our
No,
house. But
like, a huge windstorm, nothing.
yeah,
No wind, nothing, and you still lose power.
yep. But you guys
Well,
had it pretty bad, I guess.
yeah, it was really bad. We didn't have anything in our house except gyms down, but um, I was logging into the camera just to see if we had power and to spy on my kids. But um, we have a camera outside, and it's on that. You were just here, that swing that sits outside my patio,
Mm-hmm.
my back patio. I put a camera on there to watch the peeing habits of our dog. You know, and so I logged into that camera just to see what I could see, and it had pushed the camera over so it was sideways, and it enabled me to be able to see in the office, so I could see the TV to see what they were watching.
That's funny.
It was perfect because I'm like, well, it's weird because it was tilted sideways, but then it was perfect. I'm like, hey, they are watching Harry.
They're
Okay, just
watching
making
what?
sure they're watching Harry Potter.
Oh,
So they weren't lying. They were watching what they watch.
yeah,
So nothing like spying on your kids while you're in a lodge in Hocking Hills. Yeah, it's good times.
yeah,
Well, there we go. Hour and a half. What do you think?
yeah, yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, it was nice catching up.
Yeah, we'll have to do this, again in less than like 4 or 5 months or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Let's try to actually keep our 2 week schedule back again.
Yeah, you have to.
We missed out.
Not that this just, rambling about whatever isn't fun. It is, and I could do it every time. I don't care. But
Yeah,
it's kind of nice to have a topic sometimes, just because
sure.
then there's something interesting maybe that we could like make points about that maybe somebody would care about. Probably not,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
so
yeah.
if
Okay,
not,
we'll think of something.
if we don't think of anything, then fine. We'll do this again. If we think of something, then we'll have something.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, man.